Revenge films.
My name is Tristan, and I've been married to my wife Melanie for 3 years now. She's a great cook, and I always enjoy coming home from work to the delicious meals that she prepares for us each night. The other day, I suggested that we take a weekend trip together, possibly to an area that has some hot springs. I wanted to go on a romantic getaway with her to show her my appreciation for her being such a good wife to me.
That's a wonderful idea, Tristan.
Where do you want to go? We went to a travel agency to get some help in picking a destination. We found a place that we both wanted to visit and went ahead with making the reservation. Before we were married, we'd go away on weekend trips quite often, but recently, I've been so busy with work that we hadn't gone on a trip together for some time. We had a great time together planning all the places that we would visit and looking at possible restaurants to dine at. I felt like a newlywed again. I was really looking forward to the trip. The travel agency selected a great hotel for us to stay at with a hot spring, a spa, and a great restaurant. I think that this hotel would be perfect for the two of you. You get a great view of the mountains from your room, and the hot springs are beautiful too. Okay, this is the hotel for us. We'd like to reserve a room here. We reserved 2 nights at the hotel that the travel agent recommended to us. The hotel was famous for their delicious food too, so there was a lot to look forward to. It wasn't cheap, but I hoped that it would all be worth it, and I counted down the days to our trip. A week before our trip, I stayed late in the office every night to get as much work done as possible. I didn't want to leave any work behind and have someone from the office call me about it during the weekend. The day of our trip arrived, and my wife and I left our house and drove to the hotel. This place is great!
I'm so looking forward to spending a long weekend here.
After going inside the hotel, we went to the reception desk to check in. The hotel lobby was crowded with the other guests that had arrived around the same time as us. Luckily, we only waited a few minutes until it was our turn to check in. I gave the receptionist our name and tried to check in.
It says in our system that the two of you are already checked in.
What? We just got here. Melanie and I were surprised to hear this. It didn't make any sense since we had just arrived at the hotel. I explained the situation to the receptionist and asked her to check the system once again. But the receptionist told us that there was no mistake in the records of their system. In desperation, I showed her my driver's license and the paper showing the details of our reservation. The receptionist told me that the people that had checked in as us earlier already showed her the same thing. I knew that this was all a big mistake, so I urged the receptionist to keep on checking. But the receptionist was unwilling to check any further. She then became suspicious of us and asked us to leave the hotel premises. I was furious. We had used a travel agency because we wanted to avoid any issues with reservations. But here I was, being denied. I decided to record the conversation with the receptionist, hoping that it would help us out later. I asked the receptionist if there were any other rooms available in the hotel for us to stay at. She told us that all the rooms were booked. She then told us that she would call the police if we continued to pester her. We were really disappointed because we'd been looking forward to this getaway. We were both very upset. I was supposed to have a fun weekend with Melanie, and now it's all ruined. We decided that instead of going home right away, we would do some sightseeing. Melanie and I walked around and visited some of the tourist attractions. I'm really sorry about this, Melanie. We're supposed to be taking full advantage of the hot springs right now.
Don't worry about it, Tristan. Besides, this is not your fault.
Melanie and I enjoyed some sightseeing and tried to make the best of the situation. We were lucky enough to find another hotel to stay at, so we stayed for one night and went home after that. That was an interesting trip, huh? I checked my smartphone when I got home and realized that I had many missed calls from an unknown number. I called back the number, concerned about what the phone call may be about. When I got through, I realized that I was talking to the receptionist of the hotel that we'd reserved but couldn't stay at. They apologized to me and told me that they mistakenly checked in a different couple that had come to the hotel without a reservation. We told you our names and asked you to check the documents that I had on me, but you refused to do it. If you had checked like I asked you to, you could have avoided this mistake from happening.
I'm so sorry about that. The couple that came to stay with us without a reservation had the same last name as you, which is why I didn't check properly.
It seemed that the couple that had the same last name as us came to the hotel a date earlier than us and stayed there. The receptionist didn't check the date on our check-in carefully and assumed that the couple was us, although they had arrived a day early. This could have easily been avoided if you had checked the dates of our stay and the full names of the guests.
Yes, I should have checked properly, but since the last name matched the reservation name, I failed to check any other details.
I told the receptionist that I was also angry about the fact that she treated us like criminals and that she had threatened to call the police on us. What kind of a business are you running? What's the point in us giving so much information about us if you're not even going to do the proper checks at check-in? The receptionist then gave me a lame excuse telling me that she was so busy that she didn't have time to check all the information. She might have been busy, but that's not a good enough reason. I felt that if she was so busy, she should have been extra careful not to make any mistakes. I was shocked by the hotel's careless ways. The hotel told me that we could go over to the hotel now and then they would allow us to stay for one night and return the hotel fees for the second night, since we can only stay for one night. I was angry at them for not apologizing first. They were trying to get away with this by suggesting an alternative plan. I yelled at the receptionist. I don't ever want to go back to your hotel again. I didn't expect such low-quality service from you. I then hung up the phone on them. A few days later, I went back to the travel agency and explained to them about what had happened with the hotel that we reserved through them. I also had them listen to the recording of my conversation with the hotel receptionist. Since Melanie and I didn't actually stay at the hotel, I asked them to return all the money that we had paid them. At first, the travel agent told us that this was not their fault and they didn't take me seriously. But after listening to the recorded conversation, they had no choice but to accept the fact that this matter was not my fault. And they returned the money to me. They also gave me a $2,000 cash voucher as an apology. We apologize for all of the inconvenience caused due to the error on our end. We will make sure that this time a mistake doesn't happen again. We hope that you accept our apologies. Thank you. We understand that the mistake is more on the hotel side. I was no longer angry with the travel agency because they did everything they could to rectify the issue. But I wasn't really after an apology for the travel agency. I felt that the hotel should be the one to apologize to us for what happened. The receptionist threatened to call the police on us, and she never apologized for being so rude to us. I was still really angry at the hotel and was thinking about what I needed to do to make myself feel better. I decided that I would post the conversation between me and the receptionist on social media to see how the other users would react. I didn't want anyone else to have the same experience as Melanie and I. The hotel that I had reserved for a weekend trip checked in the wrong guest with the same last name as my wife and I. And when we tried to check in, they told us that we were mistaken and that if we didn't leave the hotel, they would call the police on us. Afterward, they realized their mistake, but haven't apologized to us once for it. Many people understood my frustration with the hotel, and many users liked and shared my post, which ended up going viral. And there were many other people that had the same experience with that hotel in the past. There were many other victims like us. Because of my post, many customers complained to the hotel, and the reputation of the hotel went down considerably. Here are some of the things that the other users posted about the hotel. I hate that hotel! They had really bad service. They didn't make the bed for us when we stayed there. The staff that work there have terrible attitudes. I want the hotel to go out of business. People commented about the lack of service and poor management of the hotel. As a result, the rating of the hotel went down to the lowest possible rating. I hope that with this, hotel management would re-educate their staff and introduce some guidelines so there wouldn't be any trouble with customers in the future. But in the end, after a year, the hotel went out of business. I knew that I had some part in it, but in the end it was probably because they didn't try to change for the better. It seems that there were many other customers that were unhappy with the hotel services, so I guess this was bound to happen sooner or later. A year later, I was planning another romantic getaway with my wife. This time, I took the time to look at each hotel's reputation and the comments that past customers left. And instead of using a travel agent like last time, I made the reservation directly with the hotel.
I love this hotel. I know that we had a bad experience last year, but this hotel makes up for it.
The hotel that I booked this time was even more luxurious than the last. Melanie and I had to make up for what happened during our trip last year. I'm glad that you're having a nice time. The lesson that I learned from my bad experience last year is that I should spend a lot of time researching hotels and making sure that I don't reserve a hotel with a negative reputation.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.